Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So I built my own cloud from scratch using only free software, and more precisely Debian. So why I wanted to do that? Well, you know, just getting a server at a colocation, okay, that's nice to start playing. But sometimes your provider may have some problem with the infrastructure, and then you may want to split your infrastructure. So in case your provider fails for whatever reason, you still have a backup. Also, you may want, especially if you rent some hardware, you may want to rotate it every once in a while because you want fresher disk. You don't want to deal with hardware failure. Or if you have one, you need to handle it in a way that you don't have to redo everything from scratch. So what I did, I have I split the internet-facing stuff from the content serving stuff. So all the servers that I have that provide service or host the website, those are hosted inside an internal network, and I have the other part that proxies all the outside traffic to the inside. So basically, I have one server at provider A. I'm not gonna name it. And I took another one at provider B. So those are two VPS. It's virtual machine running at the colo, so they handle the hardware for me. But those machines have very little application knowledge. What is there is mainly configuration for proxying and lots of VPN and tunneling. Now comes the hosting the virtual machine part. I started with one physical server at provider A, and between those, yeah, I forgot to put the internet here. And between that physical machine and my edge server, I set up tunnels so that that physical machine becomes an hypervisor. I set up the network in such a way that it's just a bridge. So the gateway of the virtual machine running here, its gateway is the edge machine. So that's nice because you now have your VM here with your application. It accesses the internet through that machine. But if someone from the internet try to access your web service, it's going to see your edge server and send the traffic to your VM that is running inside your hypervisor. That's a nice start, but what happened if you have problem with the hardware here? So at another provider, I took another physical machine, provider C, and I extended the network to that other physical machine. Now, since the gateway is on the edge server, the VM can run here, but you can move it on the other side without changing its network configuration. I did everything with Debian, so all the machines here run Debian. The hypervisor runs Xen. Xen is packaged in Debian. For the network configuration, I use VXLAN. So it's like a virtual VLAN that you can make over the internet. And you can put several machines on that VXLAN. The VXLAN can be part of a bridge, and you can attach a VM to a bridge. But the bridge is present on both hypervisor. About the setup of the hypervisor, since it's a Debian, I had all the flexibility to do the install. So I did for the VM, well, no, for the hypervisor, the VM storage is on encrypted backup. So when I set up the hypervisor, I set up an encrypted LVM. The disk of the virtual machine are logical volume. So you boot from that. The idea is that when you want to decommission an hypervisor, you just need to wipe the key. You don't need to wipe the whole disk. So you don't run of risking leaking data, because you don't know where your hard disk is going to end up, or whether it's going to be scrubbed. You don't know that.
It's a colo after all.
Yeah, it's in a colo, so they may tell that they have some guarantee about privacy, but if you're a bit paranoid, you just encrypt everything. So the private and sensitive data end up on the disk of the physical machines. Your edge machines are just proxies. So they don't contain any sensitive data, which is also easier in case they are compromised, your edge machines. So you can just reinstall them. There's no content on them. Another thing with VXLAN is that there's no encryption. So what I do for encryption in transit, I use IPsec in transport mode, meaning that all the traffic between the two machines will be encrypted with IPsec. And inside that IPsec tunnel, you do your VXLAN. On the hypervisor, the DOM0 does not run any application. It's just there for virtual machine management and networking. When it comes to VPN, like VPN for the client, because I also have VPN at home, VPN on my laptop. So I have a VPN server on both edge, and I can have my laptop connect to that edge, or I can have my home connecting to that edge with another VPN. I also have here a dedicated gray tunnel, also with IPsec in transport mode, to ensure that the two edges can communicate with each other. Network-wise, it's getting pretty complex. So for the routing, I use OSPF. So this way, if there's any link that we arrange, for whatever reason, because, for example, I do a maintenance on this server, so I bring it down. I have a VPN between my home and that server, but it's also making a VPN with this server. I can decide, for example, okay, my home goes to that machine, my laptop goes to that machine. But if I take that machine down for maintenance, if I don't change anything in the routing, if you use static routing, you will not be able to reach your home. But here I use OSPF, so it's going to monitor each link. And if that machine goes down for whatever reason, OSPF is going to choose another route. So my network always converge. Any questions so far?
You mentioned in terms of Debian, but I assume that you could have different operating systems.
Yes.
Correct.
It's just that I use Debian because, well, for me that's the simplest.
You mentioned a few times having VPN tunnels. What protocol are you using for the VPN tunnels?
So between the hypervisor and the edge server, that's IPsec.
Yes.
Between my laptop and the edge server, that's OpenVPN.
Okay.
My home, I have a mix of IPsec, Tink, and I'm playing with WireGuard. Between the edge server, that's a gray tunnel with IPsec encapsulation. Also, IPsec here, you have VXLAN that is encapsulated. The only thing that I'm thinking about changing in that setup is maybe give Proxmox a try for an hypervisor.
I can recommend it. It's a very nice hypervisor to work with. It's not overly complex.
Yeah, because the problem I have here is when I want to migrate a virtual machine from one host to the other.
Yes.
I don't have any synchronization between the mass storage. So I need to shut down the VM here, transfer the disk to the other side, and restart there.
Then you need ZFS for your Proxmox setup. What services are you running on the different machines?
On the different machine, I have my wireless controller. I have my website. I have.
Where? Can you just like add the on the machines? I have my website and my wireless controller. On what machine do you host what?
Where I host what here with that setup, it doesn't really matter. It's
Okay.
more whatever you choose.
And do you put all the load on one machine and then have a failover scenario, or do you distribute the load and then have failover both ways?
At the moment, it's all manual.
Okay.
It's all manual, but
Did you distribute the load?
I did distribute the load for a while, but then I noticed that I have some hardware problem on that server, so I moved everything to the other side for the time being.
Okay.
The thing is, when you migrate a VM from A to C, you don't need to change anything on the outside. It's except for the downtime, it's completely transparent.
And if you keep your VM disks relatively small, the downtime should also be.
Yes.
What's the link speed between machines? About.
I know that provider A, that's 100 meg dedicated, but provider B and C, 1 gigabit.
So about 100 Mbps.
Yeah.
Should be fast
I'm
enough.
thinking about getting rid of the physical machine at provider A.
Which then answers my next question: what are the changes that you have, that you're thinking about? If you get rid of the machine at provider A, what's then the scenario that you would run through? Can you run us through that?
I would get another physical machine. Let's say at provider D. So I would make another hypervisor, stretch the VXLAN and the tunnels like that, so that I can span my internal network to that hypervisor, and then I can move some VM to that machine. But I really want to keep the multi-provider scenario. Just in case there's someone that makes a mistake in their BGP.
What's the advantage of for you? The advantage of physical machine over like VMs that you can just get from a party like Hetzner or AWS or whatever. Why go for a physical machine? Because it seems like a risk to run on physical actual.
Because I run an hypervisor on them. It's basically what they are providing as a service.
Yes.
So you're basically your own cloud provider.
Yes.
Could you clarify what the advantages of doing the hypervisor aspect of that?
It gives you control. It's also teaching you about cloud infrastructure, and when you subscribe to a cloud service or you get a VM, so you have an idea of how it may work behind the scenes.
So if you would add a new service to it, what would the next one be?
Next, another service.
Yes, if you would add something to it.
So I have my wireless controller, I have a torrent box, I have my web server for my website, my photo gallery. If I were to add something, yeah, a project I'm working on. I also have a remote desktop server. Yes, remote desktop on Linux, that's a thing that works. If I were to add something, I don't know, maybe VoIP server.
Okay. Yeah. And would that impact the configuration of your servers, or would everything
No.
just work?
It will just work. When you deploy a VM from the hypervisor, you tell when you build a VM to which bridge it needs to connect to. Because on the hypervisor, you have the physical network interface, ETH0, which is connected to the internet. But I create several bridges. For example, bridge VM1, which is connected to a VXLAN. In this case, VXLAN 200, which is brought back to here. Right now, I have two VXLAN because I'm part of the DN42 project. So I have one VXLAN with private address, and I have another VXLAN with DN42 subnet. So when I create the VM, I can tell it, okay, you join that bridge or you join that bridge. And it's going to get, well, there's no DHCP, so you have to put all the IP address manually on the command line when you build your VM.
The really short IPv6 ones, you mean?
Yeah, the IP legacy so far.
So you don't have DHCP for IPv4, do you have route advertising for IPv6?
Not yet, not yet, not yet. At the moment, it's all static. Because having DHCP with two machines, because those two need to be DHCP server, that I still need to figure out. So I don't have a truly high availability setup yet.
You talked about the torrent box.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're supporting all the Linux distributions to be torrented, and I'm assuming you're only using it for that. But do you use some anonymization, Tor or something, to hide your IP address in that context?
No, the torrent box is being built at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Also with this setup, so I have those bare metal hypervisor. I can have, for example, another entity that needs some service, some storage. So they come with their own edge server. They come with their own edge server, and what I can do, I can just make a dedicated VXLAN to that edge server, run their VM on my infrastructure, but you can have two VM running on the same machine, but one belongs to this one, the other belongs to this one. But they sit on the same machine, but they are not on the same network at all, meaning that if this one want to contact this one, they have to go all the way around through the internet. So that gives isolation between the customers.
Okay. So no shared folders.
In this case, no, and that's a design choice.
On your machines, I count now at the moment, excluding the Edge server, 5 boxes on the board. How many public IPs do you have, IPv4-wise?
One per machine.
One per machine. So you do a port forwarding thing for VMs then?
No. No, for VM, there's no port forwarding. It's a VXLAN, so it's like I pull a cable between the edge to the hypervisor.
You're running this separate VMs for your separate services, right? You're running
Yes.
a VM for your Unifi service. You're running a. How do you? So you only have a public IP per physical machine.
Yes.
How do you, if you don't do port forwarding, how do you send the traffic that's for the Unifi controller to the Unifi controller and for the web server to the web server?
It's all routed. Because it's all internal network. So
Yeah.
I have a subnet for the VPN.
Yeah.
I have a subnet for the French
Well, if you
VXLAN.
want to talk to a VM, it's always over internal network.
Yes.
Okay.
There's no port forwarding.
So you don't have anything that's actually publicly on the internet?
No.
Okay.
Nothing is public.
But you could do port forwarding. If
I-
you wanted to host like a web server, that's a web server for hosting a website for.
In this case, I use reverse proxying.
Okay, but then the thing that takes the reverse proxy has to have.
The reverse proxy runs
It's not
here
on that machine,
and
yeah.
is, has a leg on the outside and a leg on the inside. So
you
it
have
bridges
reverse
the two.
Proxy on the machine that's.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah, the reverse proxy is on the edge server.
Okay.
So a request from outside hits the reverse proxy.
Yeah.
If you have put the config in the reverse proxy, then it's going to send the traffic back to the server inside. Things that I did not solve yet because I had no need for is load balancing. But I don't think we need that so far. Any other question?
I was going to ask if you're using LDAP for home, but you're only doing
No, I'm not that far.
I heard him say soon.
Although I'm thinking about the concept that the hypervisor with its encrypted backend, that when it boots, it's going to make a request to a server somewhere, be it the edge, be it somewhere else, to get the decryption key to be able to open the disk. So that if the machine gets stolen or seized for whatever reason, well, you can still wipe the key and then the data becomes unusable.
Do you have to enter the key manually now when you boot the machine?
At the moment, the key resides in the initramfs, which totally defeats the purpose. But if your disk fails for whatever reason, you can just wipe the key,
Yeah.
and the whole disk is unusable.
We had a setup where Puppet would pull the key from a vault. And on its first run, one of the disks that was encrypted would be encrypted by Puppet.
Mhm.
So for instance,
And Puppet runs whenever it gets started up, so it's during boot. So you make for you to log into the machines, every time you make an account on the machine and you push your public key, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
That's true. You don't have a centralized camera center or something like that.
I was thinking to play with Ansible for that, but the learning curve is pretty steep.
Idea for a workshop, soon to come to a hackerspace near you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.